All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greens for the Garden State, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We're here at the Great Notch Inn in Woodland Park, New Jersey, with its owner, Rich Hempel. Rich, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. This is the second time I've been here in a matter of just a couple weeks, and so that, I'm feeling great. But you're here just about every day.
Yeah,
so.
Pretty much.
So it's a different vibe for you, I would imagine.
Yeah, I still love it, though.
Yeah.
Love being here.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I've told you this now multiple times, that anytime I post that I'm here at the Great Notch Inn, people are like, oh my God, I've been driving past there for years. I mean, I remember driving past here when I was a kid, going to like games at Yogi Berra Stadium and Jackals games, whatever. But people sometimes are a little intimidated or don't really know like what to expect when they come in here. And it's kind of like, it's this own little, kind of thing that stands out right here on 46. So what is the Great Notch Inn? Like, if people come in here, like, what should they expect to find?
Cool. Yeah, good question. So it is an historic roadhouse. It's been here as the length of the highway, as long as the highway, 85 years right now. And a lot of people think it's going to be different than what it actually is. A lot of people go by, they're like, oh, that biker bar, But in reality, I just feel it sells it a little short of what it actually is.
Yeah.
I think that's a little piece of what this place is. More so, I believe it's a live music venue. We do live music every night we're open. I'm a drummer myself, so I have a passion for music, and we're filled with music lovers. It's a musician hang. It's a lot of fun. We got a lot of great people that hang out here. I mean, in addition to being what I consider like a bar with regulars, where I know most of the people that walk in the door, every single day I get new people, and they all say, I've been driving by this place my whole life. I've always wanted to stop in. And we've actually, years ago, started to make, like, first-timer books.
Yeah.
We filled a bunch of them,
Which is amazing. I thought it was really cool.
It's really cool, because everybody's like, oh, my God, I just said that, and this is really cool. And, and then the idea is just to, sell them on the history of the place and the vibe of the place. And, generally speaking, it's all good, man. People are like, wow, this is a lot different than I thought it was going to be. Thank you,
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me wanting to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned in that answer, so 85 years it's been here.
Yes.
I want to say your great-grandfather started it. Is that correct?
Grandfather,
excuse me. Yeah, so grandfather started it. Talk to me about that. Like, why did he start a bar, open up a bar, and then kind of talk to me a little bit about the early days about the place.
Well, there's a lot to talk about with him, so I'll say that from another day. He was quite the character, but I'll go a little deeper than that.
Yeah.
So 100 years ago, 1924, my grandfather, for a few years, was working for the railroad as an accountant, and he decided that he wanted to open up a bar. The problem with that was it was 1924, which is 5 years into Prohibition.
Yeah.
So he opened a place called the Green Chateau on the same property, which was a speakeasy. It remained a speakeasy from 24 to 33 when Prohibition was repealed, and then that became an actual bar for the next 6 years. And my grandmother, she was the kitchen, my grandfather was the bar. In the front of that, as a whatever front, they sold milk, bread, and eggs, and in the back they had the dance hall with the bootleg booze. In 1939, Route 46 came through. Prior to that, it was a dirt road.
Yeah.
So the highway came through. That place had to be demolished. The building we're in now belonged to my grandfather's friend. It was down a little bit down the road by where the McDonald's is, and that was also set to be destroyed. So my grandfather bought this place for $1. They raised it. They rolled it over on logs.
Yeah.
He put in about $2,500, which was the front porch, all these beams that you see, the hand-carved beams, all that, the bar, the back bar, everything. So $2,501 later, that's what you got here.
Yeah, so the stuff in here, I mean, for the most part, like the original stuff, that's how old? 85 years old, essentially?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, all the bar, everything, right. It's all 85.
And so, I think that's crazy. Like, so they were basically demolishing everything in Route 46 path.
Correct.
Basically, except for this, really. So how does that happen?
Well, his original place did get demolished.
Yeah, sure, right.
Eminent domain.
Yeah.
Or are you talking more recently?
We'll get there.
Okay. Well, that place was demolished, and this building would have been too. But when they rolled it over here, they set it back towards the back of the property.
Okay.
So it wasn't in the middle of where the highway was going to be. Like the Green Chateau is dead center in where the highway is.
I gotcha. So and the year again, remind me. 1939. So I would imagine, like there's not that many motorcycles and stuff coming through in 1939. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about like the vibe of the bar at the Great Notch Inn. Was it called the Great Notch Inn immediately when it moved over here?
Yes.
So talk about the vibe then and maybe how it differs from now.
To my knowledge, it was a different animal altogether.
Yeah.
Back then, the highway wasn't what it is now.
Sure.
So they had, to my understanding, a Grove license. They had picnic tables all around outside. And they also had another building on the property. I don't know if you can remember it, but up to 10 years ago, it was torn down. Used to have a big flag on the side of it. It was a side stand out by the front there. So even there, they sold, it was sort of like one of those, they sold hot dogs, hamburgers, root beer floats, stuff like that. There was no fast food restaurants up and down the highway then.
Yeah.
And the same with here. They just have picnic tables outside. My grandmother did breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My grandfather served. They lived here. They lived upstairs. They barely ever left the property.
Yeah.
It's just what they did every day, open and close, the two of them.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible to think about.
There wasn't any live music back then, but my uncle Paul was... he was big with the jukebox companies back then.
Sure.
Like Wurlitzer, Seaberg. He worked for all those. He was a main troubleshooter on all their stuff. So my grandfather always had like the newest jukebox, the newest records in there and everything back in the day. And
so music was still an important piece.
At that point in time, correct.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so I remember you just told me before we started chatting that you started getting involved when, 89?
1988.
1988. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, the bar is 60 years old, and your grandfather's been running it, or a little less than 60 years old. Your grandmother's been running it the whole time?
Yes.
Him and your grandma?
Well, now here's where the shift happened around 1970.
Okay.
Up until roughly the late 60s, it was the two of them. My grandmother was getting ill. My grandmother passed away in 1970.
Okay.
So after 1970, everything sort of shifted here. Right away, there was no more kitchens, so that took out a lot of the people.
Yeah.
And at that point, my grandfather went with the year. He was born in December 1899.
Okay.
So in 1970, he was already 70.
Yeah.
And the problem with him was he wouldn't hire anybody except family.
Yeah.
And family just couldn't work for him.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because he wanted things a certain way.
Yeah.
And honestly, the older I get, the more I get it.
Right.
I understand, and I always felt that he had the right to do that because, he put the time in.
Yeah.
But it wasn't conducive to business. I mean, he really he was happy just booting people out of here if he didn't like them or he didn't like the look of them. He had a lot of...
There are moments in life that I feel like most people feel like, I wish I could just kick you out of my space.
It was more like it was his house. It was his house. He lived here.
Yeah, right.
So it would be more like just walking into some random older guy's house.
Yeah.
If he liked, he let you stay. If he didn't, he'd tell you to leave. You know, and he had his things, he was a non-smoking bar back then. Because my grandmother, that was part of the reason she died, Didn't like smoking. Bikes, trucks, beards, he didn't be out.
Yeah.
Dirty work boots, blue jeans, leather jackets, and then some. And you still had to, beyond that, he still had to be in the mood.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You could pass all that, and if he wasn't feeling good, you're still out, I mean... So it's, he was quick, but he didn't really need the money, to be honest with you. It's not like he was loaded, but he just didn't spend money.
Yeah.
He lived here. He didn't go out. He didn't have any, didn't travel. He just needed to exist. And whatever he made here, his property has been paid for since 39.
Yeah.
So just taxes and this and that. And
yeah.
So we just ran the thing his way or the highway, literally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you mentioned in there, because kind of like off that question, you getting involved and that the fact that he would only hire a family, but family couldn't work for him.
Yeah.
So how did you make that work?
Well, for me, I mean, growing up, I did a lot of stuff for him.
Yeah.
Whenever he needed something done, you need the lawn cut, Pop, I'll go out, he'd make me shovel the driveway, literally. It gets better. But he had to have it a certain way. So literally it would be like, okay, shovel this into the wheelbarrow, and then run it out to the median of the highway and dump it so it doesn't pile up. I'm like, I'm not running across the highway with a wheelbarrow
full of snow.
That's crazy, you know?
Yeah.
No, but I did a lot for him over the years, and we were very close. And basically, I was in my last semester at Montclair across the street, and one day my mother just basically says, Pop's in the hospital, you got to open today for him, because he couldn't have the place dark, you know?
Yeah.
So like, sure, okay, and I'm still opening every day for him.
Yeah,
you know,
it's pretty...
I feel that, you know?
Yeah.
But, so he didn't pass away right away, but he went from there to... He just really couldn't care for himself, you know, much anymore. So he was in a convalescent home. That was in February 15th of 1988.
Okay.
And he passed away in October of 88. So during that little interim period of time, I was here, but I was still sort of holding things the way he did for the most part, outside of the beards and the blue jeans and the leather jacket.
Yeah, right.
And I still didn't, I still kept the hours. He was closing by like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I kept it the way it was, which was mainly set up more like a liquor store than a bar.
Okay.
And after he passed away, that's when I started incorporating other things into it.
Yeah. You also, in one of your answers before, and we kind of glossed over this, but I did want to kind of make the connection of, or like the history timeline of who was running the bar. We talked about when like this building where sort of the McDonald's was rolled across the street, but you mentioned like the first time or the second time. Like with eminent domain taking stuff out, and what was another time that
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years ago, starting in 2014, the highway reconstruction that they had been going back and forth on since I started here, and before I started here in '88, finally came through. Which we were in the middle of the project, obviously, dead center, and eminent domain. We went past eminent domain into condemnation. And, they basically, when that happens, it's sort of like eminent domain, but then they just take what they want, and you can still fight them for valuation at a later date.
Sure.
So they took about a third of our property. They helped us in some ways, too. It's not it's a double-edged sword, They did that, but we got a bigger parking lot. We got a back entrance, which is very helpful.
Yeah.
A sewer hookup, which is a nice, thing, because there's no sewer on this part of the highway. So we got that and some other stuff. They took down a lot of trees for us, which at first I didn't really care for, but now I just think about, I sleep better in the windstorms,
Right.
There's a lot of trees around
the
this building.
attic and stuff, but...
So, we were able to, still be here, and we are the oldest surviving thing on this whole stretch of highway.
Oh, for sure.
Shot.
Yeah, totally. Like, there's nothing that even comes close.
No.
Yeah.
We like it here. We're fun. We have been. This has been in my family longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
So it's nice for me. I enjoy coming here.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of like what I was talking about when we opened is the fact that like this place stands out so much on this stretch of highway in a good way. It's like a breath of fresh air, like a refreshing kind of departure from all just like the
hustle
new
and bustle.
The hustle and bustle, all the strip malls, all the fast food joints and stuff like that, and just like this little spot where people come and have a good time. So
an oasis.
Exactly, an oasis. That's a great way to say it. So you start getting involved in '88, and you said you've been opening ever since. Over time, you said like at the beginning you were keeping in things pretty much, or like trying to stay true to what the bar had been for a long time. At what point do you start to kind of put your own little flair on the spot?
Okay, so now I said October '88, my grandfather passed away. So the bar was left to my mom, who I was also very close with, And my mom was awesome, wonderful person. Everybody loved my mom. But at the same time, she grew up upstairs from here.
Right.
Didn't really want to do this. It wasn't her thing. She was a school teacher and educator, and man, that's what she did. And so I was lucky that she believed in me. I was in my last semester of college trying to figure out what I was going to do. Because I had a feeling like my grandfather had been grooming me for this for years.
Yeah, like a legacy sort of thing. Yeah,
exactly. But he was a tough guy, man. I mean, he could have lived to be 110 for all I knew. So I'm not one to sit around waiting for somebody to die to start my life. You know what I mean? So I was trying to figure what to do. And luckily, my mom believed in me and took me on as a partner right out of the gate. And I just started working And I didn't have any experience whatsoever.
Yeah.
I was just sort of lucky that the business was almost ground down to nothing. So I could learn with the business. I could grow with the business. I figured it out. I had, some people come and sort of mentor me along the way, bar owner friends and stuff, and give me ideas and of how to do things. And, and I did a little research myself and figured it out. And, my mom and I were partners until 99 when she passed away. And now I'm in here with my sister, and we have all family working here.
Yeah.
And it's great, man. I like it this way. We have a small staff, not a lot of people. Everybody who comes in, you're going to know somebody here, I'm behind the bar, because it's not like a lot of these places where every day you go in, there's somebody different back there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because we've had a lot of family businesses on the show. We talked about Rutt's Hut the last time it was here.
Sure, yeah.
That's a family business. Hobby's Deli in Newark, Calandra's, like all these businesses that have been Doc's Oyster House down in Atlantic City. Oh, my God, it's one of my favorites. But that's a similar thing. Like, it's been there since 1895. You know what I mean? Like, his great-grandfather started it, and it's still family-owned. And I've always thought that that's an interesting thing. Like, I ask people, like, do you ever just say, like, screw bread, screw oysters, screw it? Like, I just can't do it. Like, it's just so family tied, but just kind of listening to you talk about it and kind of how it's, you basically, like, carried on that legacy, so to speak, and kind of brought it into now, and dealt with your own issues and kind of all that kind of stuff and, kept it going. And I think that's really admirable and pretty cool because not many people can make that happen.
Well, I was lucky, man. Like I said, I like to say, I was just basically lucky that, my grandfather did want it to go on, and that my mom, believed in me enough at 23 years old to try to, run a bar, which I'll tell you something, it's, it could go a lot could go wrong. You know what I mean? Luckily, I was able to avoid all the pitfalls and stuff, and and I'm still strong. I mean, I feel as good as ever, my age now, and I never drink at work, which is important, and
sure.
I've been able to avoid all the major pitfalls, thank God.
Yeah.
But I still love doing this every day, and the whole I was able to sort of cater it more to my lifestyle and what I'm into, and then I just got to find people that are into what I'm into, which is basically the music aspect of it.
Sure.
I'm a drummer also, so it's great. I get to, even though I don't have the time to be in bands anymore, I get to play with bands every night.
Yeah,
I jump in for a few songs every night. Keeps me good like that, and keeps me really plugged into the scene without being in the scene.
Right.
Which is excellent, and I love dealing with musicians. I mean, it's awesome. I have some fantastic players. I mean, I have a lot of touring musicians that have been around the world with all different people playing here, and they play here because they love it. You know, I mean, a place like this, it's not like they're gonna, make a ton of money doing it, but but they do it because they got the music in their heart, like me, and and the people I get in here are music lovers, and I could tell you just from playing out at places, nothing's worse than playing to a room full of 1,000 people and nobody even cares.
Yeah, they're looking the other way, they're talking, they're whatever.
I'd rather play in a room with 10 people who are really totally engaged in what you're doing and love it. Not that, we get 10, we get pretty busy here still, but it's nice, and I really feel like I'm serving a purpose and something that's really underappreciated, and a lot of these bars I don't think know how to do music and understand the whole, the ins and outs of it. Yeah.
Because, because you guys are open Tuesday to Sunday, right?
Yes.
So closed Mondays, and to have live music every day that you're open, that's a lot of music. That's a lot of slots to fill and a lot of people that kind of have come through.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, like the types of bands you have come through. I remember the first time I was ever here, it was... there was a guy playing, another guy walked in and just started playing with him, and then one guy left, another guy came in, and then they were playing together. And I think that's amazing. Yeah. It's just such a unique, when does that happen? Where does that happen? Like here, that's what I think is so cool. So maybe who are some of the people that you have come through, like important ones maybe that are here a lot? I see Wild Bill on the board all the time.
He's here every Wednesday. He's my acoustic guy.
Okay.
We do, as of now, we do like a Blues Roots jam thing every Tuesday, which is cool, which... we have my buddy Dean Schott has been hosting now. Dean and I did an open jam here for 18 years leading into COVID.
Cool.
On Mondays, which was great. We get 30, 40 players easily every Monday, put bands together. That's how I find a lot of my acts too. And hey, the way you get to know them is you play with them. You jump up, do some songs. But prior to doing this, I was playing the club, so I got good perspective on different angles. I have perspective as the player. I have this perspective as a bartender. I have perspective as the owner.
Yeah.
So I see it from all the angles. And I luckily, one of the bands, little shout out to, unfortunately, my buddy who was the leader of this band passed away, very recently, my buddy CJ Muller. But I used to have a band called Impact here back in the late 80s into the 90s. And they were, exactly, I still have the sticker, yeah. But they were very, I don't know if you ever saw the band, the Flying Mullet Brothers. No. So they were an iconic band down the Jersey Shore. They played Jenkinson's every Sunday, a surf club for many years every Saturday. And one thing I learned from them is they were just the kings of just bringing everybody into the show. Yeah. Like you walked in the door, if they knew you and you played an instrument, they'd be bringing you up there. They'd be handing it to you on your way in the door, like jump in, Yeah, right. And it really sort of gave me the template of what I wanted to do here, because having so many musicians that hang out here and it being like a community and everybody knowing each other. Yeah. By the third set, a lot of times you don't know what you're going to see. It should be a really cool combo of guys who've never played together, and you'd never know it. Yeah. Because they'll just come right in and jump in like they've been rehearsing together forever. And right now I think I have probably about 70 bands playing here, and then Bill on Wednesdays, and the jam thing on Tuesdays. Yeah. And I don't know, it's an ever-evolving thing, it's mostly, I would say, predominantly classic rock. We do have some rockabilly in here. We do have some bands that touch a little bit on country, or blues. We got some good blues bands in here. It's mostly that. Yeah. And some acoustics. Right.
That certainly fits the vibe, I feel like, of the place.
I used to originally I was going in all different directions. I had some jazz, I had this, I had, Southern rock and country, and it just confused people. I had to stay sort of in one direction, not one direction, but branching out from there, so people weren't coming in after hearing like a metal band on Tuesday, and then they come in Sunday and they hear jazz. They're like, yeah, how's this?
Right, exactly.
The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about the crew over at Make Cool Shit. These are the magicians who recently gave our podcast a jaw-dropping makeover. You know how we roll here at Greetings with the Garden State podcast, right? We're all about that Garden State attitude. Well, Make Cool Shit shares that same vibe, and they've got something absolutely epic to offer. It's called the Unlimited Cool Shit Design Subscription. It's a game changer, my friends. Imagine this: unlimited creativity, one flat monthly fee, and none of that boring stuff. It's like having your very own army of design superheroes on speed dial. Whether you're a fresh-faced startup or a seasoned business looking to shake things up, the team at Make Cool Shit has got your back. It's all about making your brand sizzle, no matter where you are in your journey. So if you're ready to turn your ideas into mind-blowing realities, then it's time to connect with Make Cool Shit. Check them out on Instagram at WeMakeCoolShit, or visit their website, WeMakeCoolShit.co. Remember, that's co, not com. That's really cool. And one of the words that you said there in that answer about that, and like the community of musicians and the communities that kind of come out and support, I think that like places like this are really important, to a community, but I also think that the community is very important to places like this, because the only way that a place like a Great Notch Inn or some of the places that we talked about survive for that long are like the people that kind of, are here coming in and obviously like buying stuff, but also just being, supportive of all the stuff that you guys are doing through a lot of seasons that have kind of gone through the Great Notch Inn, over the 8 to 5 years. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about kind of just the people, the community of people that are here. You mentioned the musicians, people that are regulars, all that kind of stuff, and then just kind of talk to me a little bit about that and how that's been a big part of the success here.
Sure. Well, the nice thing is now that I'm here, I put in about 70 hours a week with everything, now. So it wasn't always that way. For many years when my son was younger, I got divorced when he was young. So I had a lot of commitments there, and I was still here 5 days a week, but I would come in more like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and now I'm fully engaged here. Now my son's 27 now. So for the last decade or so, I've been, I picked up a lot of shifts. I had one of my right-hand guys here for many years, Gary. When he passed away, he did a lot of my day shifts. covering for me when my son was younger. And now that I really feel I have my finger totally on the pulse of everything, it's almost like, I can not quite pick and choose my crowd, but I'm a pretty good read on people, and I can tell who's going to be good for my business and who's not going to be good for my business.
Yeah.
And sort of like my grandfather, and he would kick everybody out, but I also understand that there's some people that are going to be a problem.
Sure.
I could see it.
Of course.
Usually pretty quickly.
Yeah. Especially in an environment like this that...
Yeah, exactly. So, I know who to promote it to. I see people that come in, or they got a good demeanor, they're spending money, they're into the music and engaged, helping, tipping the band and this and that. Those are the people we want. We want, and everybody that comes in here, they're like, wow, people are really nice here. And that, to me, I take that as the ultimate compliment, because that's really... I call it house cleaning, I'm always up on that. I'm always trying to make sure, because that's the thing, I've been in other bars, I've known other bars, and sometimes, if a guy's coming in, he could be a total jerk, and if he's spending a certain amount of money, they're going to just want him to keep coming back in.
Sure, right.
And me, I'm not like that. If you're a jerk, you're a jerk, and you're probably going to have jerk friends that you're going to bring in here too.
Yep.
So I don't care, because maybe you lose a guy that's spending $100 in a night, but at the same time you got to worry about him, and you got to worry about these other people that might come in and spend $30 a night, and they're like 10 of them won't come now because they don't want to deal with this guy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So I really, as long as you, my whole thing I always tell people is I'm all about everybody having a good time, as long as it's not at the expense of other people's good time.
Yeah.
And that's the way I try to do it and promote it. And, and I know who's good, and I try to get those people to come back. And, these are the people who support what we do. They help support the bands, because, we don't raise drink prices. We don't charge a cover. The bands, they work with us here to, they can make a lot more working, playing other places, but they just love it here. I mean, I hear from the majority of them, if not almost all, that this is their favorite place. It's a great sounding room. I mean, if you look at it, it's all wood.
Sure.
It's a acoustic ceiling. I mean, the sound in here is incredible. If it's played at the right levels, it sings. The room sings. So that helps too. And just be nice to people. One thing I learned, Clay, musicians, there's a lot of things that will motivate, But I mean, common decency is very important. I hire professionals, and I let them do their thing. I don't try to micromanage them. I won't cancel them last minute because somebody else comes along.
Somebody better, yeah, right.
Yeah, I try to be very true to the people who've been here for me. I mean, I have some bands that have been here 30 years playing here, you know, and I don't forget that, and I don't take that lightly. And I try to make sure they're all taken care of ahead of everybody else, and in the lineup. And I just think common decency and handling it properly goes a long way, because I've been on the other side of that.
Totally.
You know?
I think that's so funny. Not funny. That's not the right word. Yeah. So I think I told you this, and I feel like it happens a lot. Like people that the first time I was here, I kind of getting to know you a little bit more, and then just like watching you and the Marks interact, and then the other guys that were here that kind of came in early and were chatting and drinking, whatever. Yeah. Like, it's such a departure from what I feel like most people's initial perception of the place is, because they see the bikes outside and they're just like, and they said to me, they're like, you weren't afraid you're going to get your ass kicked? And I was like, why would I? Who am I insulting by just walking in and having a beer? I think that's just such a funny thing, because once you're in here and you know what the place is all about, what you're all about, and the people that are kind of part of that community that we were just talking about, I think it's crazy. And it just,
as the saying goes, if you know, you know.
Exactly. If you know, you know. And this is definitely a if you know, you know place.
Yeah, I hear it all the time, too. It's funny, man. And I don't really know where the rumors get started. I think it's just perception of people. Because I'll be honest with you, the bikes, I've never had a problem. These guys are great. They're very respectful if you're respectful to them.
Right.
And
as honestly, are most people,
but honestly, I think that's what keeps a lot of problems out of the place. Because a lot of these troublemakers are not going to come start here thinking that would happen.
Exactly.
But I had to, now, but now I promote more, just because for many years of hearing, oh my God, I couldn't get in. A lot of people think they can't come here because they don't own a motorcycle.
Yeah.
which is ridiculous. I'll be honest with you. The people are hysterical when I tell them that stuff like I'm barely ever drink. I never drink here. I don't own a motorcycle. I'm not a biker. I don't have a tattoo on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are just shocked. They're like, what?
Yeah.
What? And, then I tell them something like I'm an Eagle Scout, which is true. And they're like,
It's like brain is all twisted.
yeah, but you know what, man? But I'm friends with all these people.
Exactly.
Because it's what I do.
Right.
And I treat everybody, to be honest with you, the approach I've always had is, and I appreciate bikers and I appreciate motorcycles. I like them. I have I've always had too many people I got to earn for. If I break a limb or something, I'm out of business for a while, And the same thing, I don't ski either, same thing, for the same reasons. But
same.
But it's just, I've always treated people. I don't really care if you come on 2 wheels, 4 wheels, 2 feet, an Uber, a minivan. It's how you are as a person.
Yeah.
It's how you act. Are you respectful here? I treat everybody with respect. But if I don't get it back, I don't need you here. I have no problem telling them, because I have so many people coming in every day who've never been here before.
Yeah.
In addition to it being a regular bar, I still get that.
Right.
So I could fill the seats. I'm not worried about filling the seats.
Yeah.
I'm worried about filling with the right people. It's all in the mix. And it's not the same people.
Yeah.
It's all, you need young, you need old, you need blue collar, white collar, male, female. You need it all.
Yeah.
And that's some of the best parts of this place, I think, is, you'll see, like a Wall Street guy or a lawyer in here talking to a biker, and they're all getting along. And,
right. It's a common ground type of place. Yeah.
We've had no incidents here. We're incident free, 36 years, no problem.
It's pretty good.
Town loves us. Cops love us. We don't use their manpower. Anything that needs to be handled. I feel, in a place this size, which is not very big for people who don't know.
Yeah.
If you pay attention, you could probably eliminate 90% of your problems before they even occur.
Sure.
And I try to stay on top of that and, interject. And it helps that, I'm the owner and I can tell people, I can, look at them and I'm sober usually, or all the time. And I tell them, I'm like, look, this is the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
Either you go home, come back tomorrow, or just relax, or you're never going to step foot in here again.
Right.
I mean, plain and simple.
Yeah.
I don't mince words. That's the way it is. And I'm here all the time, so it's not like you're just going to become one of the other bartenders here. It doesn't work that way,
Yeah.
And I like to see, think I have people's respect like that. Like, I've had people in here who I know could be handfuls in other places.
Yeah.
And they'll say to me, like, Rich, if it was anywhere else, I'd probably lay this guy out because he's a jerk.
Right.
You know what? I would never start a problem here. This is my home.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I try to really promote.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. And this has been amazing, and I love it here. And you've been great and very gracious, to give us this space and open up a little bit early, a couple of days over the last couple of weeks to let us do this. And we'll have to talk more about doing some stuff down the road. But
Sure.
I'm curious if there are one or maybe a couple before we kind of wrap up, because I feel like a place like this that has so much history obviously also has a lot of stories. Are there a couple stories or maybe one story that kind of stands out as like this really kind of encapsulates what the Great Notch Inn is all about type of story? I don't know, that's really putting you on the spot.
No,
I just was looking at some of these pictures over here and like just kind of looking around the room because I think that's really what makes the place so great. Well,
there's a few things. I'll give you two right off the top of my head. One's a little more recent. And one goes back to my grandfather's days, So the more recent one, actually, you could probably see if you look it up on YouTube. And it was a commercial that we also do a lot of commercial shoots and video shoots,
right?
TV stuff. But in 1999, we had a video or a commercial filmed here for Mrs. T's Pierogies.
Okay.
And you can find it. It's on YouTube. I have it on my list. I put it on every once in a while. And
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So. It's pretty cool. So in the commercial, what happens is, you basically get the guy in the Mrs. T's car drive up in front, and he looks at the place. And you got bikes and bikers hanging out. And he's like, oh, he's in a suit. He's like, he comes running in. He's like, hey, you ever try one of Mrs. T's pierogies? And then they're like, what's up, pierogies? Bam Bam Bigelow, who was a wrestler.
Oh yeah, Asbury Park native.
Sure. Yes. Correct. So he was in it and. another Jimmy Sturr, the Polka King, was in it, and there were a bunch of other people. So, and then these guys are like looking like, oh, I don't know about this place. And then he's like, well, he's telling all about what a pierogi is, and he's like, but there's one side effect after he's eaten them. And then Jimmy Sturr gets up and starts doing a polka, and they're all, you got the guys in the suits dancing with the biker girls, and that's sort of really what encapsulates this place, is just to see all the different walks of life come together and just get along.
Yeah, that's funny.
And now with my grandfather, here's a good one. So my grandfather always wanted like the perfect clientele coming in, but he was very old school at the same time.
Yeah.
So now he wanted everybody dressed nice and proper. So at the time, he didn't have much business coming in here. So then a limo pulls in one day, and this guy, he gets out. He's probably in his 50s, with a girl's probably in her 20s, and she's got a gown on. He's got a tuxedo. So they come in, they order a drink, and my grandfather and my uncle and maybe somebody else are at the end of the bar. So they order a drink, and my grandfather's saying to my uncle, which he always said, he's like, see these guys? He goes, they're here. They want to buy my place. He's like, how Greg, you say that all the time. He goes, no, I know. He goes, I know.
Yeah.
So then, they're sitting there talking. He's got to sit there talking. He order another drink, So my grandfather makes a drink, takes one. He goes, all right. He goes, why are you here? Right? Blunt to the point.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we've been driving by for a long time, and we've always seen the place, and it looks very charming and entertaining. He goes, no. He goes, no, that's not why you're here. Tell me why you're here. And the guy's like, okay, all right, I'll tell you the truth, but I didn't want to tell you. He goes, I can't remember what his name was. Let's say it was Joe Smith. He goes, so my name is Joe Smith. He goes, I'm the head of the Metropolitan Opera.
Oh.
He goes, and I was told that the owner of this place imitates trains and actually can, do it. Basically, my grandfather had a split vocal cord, and he was a serious train imitator. He could imitate like 30-something different trains.
Really?
Spot on.
That's crazy.
And it was almost like, the only way I could explain it, it's like sort of like a combination of like somebody doing 3-part harmony by themselves.
Yeah.
Or when you heard like those old monks when they would chant, they get that eerie kind of tone. Like he could do that, harness it, and make it sound like trains.
Wow.
It was amazing. And he was on TV, radio. It was on the stages in Atlantic City doing this stuff. It was pretty heavy, hard to explain. You really had to hear it.
Yeah.
Especially,
I feel like I could find something online, like what that would sound like.
You do. You let me know.
Yeah.
But I've been looking. I can't find it.
Yeah.
It kills me that I don't have copies of it. But
yeah.
So they started, and my uncle's like, yeah, you could do it. He goes, well, I've never seen anybody actually be able to do this. I've heard of it. And my uncle's like, I'll bet you dinner on it. He goes, deal. And then my grandfather rips one of one of his loudest ones. The guy's like blown away. He's like, oh my God. He goes, that's incredible. He goes, and where'd you do it? And my grandfather goes into a story about how he worked for a railroad for 4 or 5 years as an accountant, and he sat by the tracks, and the trains would come by, he'd try to imitate them, and it just naturally happened. The guy's just blown away. He's like, oh my God. He goes, get them a drink. Get us another drink, well, this is amazing. I can't wait to tell all my friends. My grandfather makes them a drink, takes out, and then, they're talking a little longer. Here comes a punch, it's coming.
I'm ready for it. Yeah.
So then he's like, oh, by the way, he goes, you never introduced me to your daughter. And he goes, oh, that's not my daughter. That's my girlfriend.
Yeah.
He takes one look at her. She's like half his age. He's like, get the hell out of my bar, you goddamn cradle robber. I don't want you. I don't serve people like you. He's like, but, he goes, no buts. He goes, no, you get out of here. Get out. Don't come back. He's like, and, he's like, what? No, yeah. He kicked them right out. And then my uncle's all pissed because now he's like, but he owed me a dinner. He goes, no, you don't want to go eating with that guy. He's like, but that's just the way he didn't care. He didn't. The money didn't matter. It was all about the principles. But I always loved that. That's just one of the best ones.
Yeah.
I could do a whole show on him.
Oh, I'm sure.
He's amazing. But I just like the fact that I love new people coming in, and I just love changing their perception on what they thought it was,
sure,
and what they assumed it was, and that means, and I love that people, I can. Another thing I really love here, and I've seen a lot, especially with the Jam, is seeing people perform in front of people for the first time. Like I've seen people sing in front of a crowd for the first time. It's like watching a baby take their first steps, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, being able to nurture that, you know, I got young bands in here that I like trying to, you know, give back a little, you know, help, because when I started here and when I started in music, you know, there was a lot of people to help me, you know, and now I'm on the flip side of that where I can help people and give them direction and ideas, and it's satisfying to me, you know, and you know, I plan on being here as long as I can physically do it, and you know, be a part of what I'm doing, you know.
Totally.
I'm not one of those that wants to, you know, like a lot of these bar owners, they want to, you know, just have other people manage it and run it and look at cameras and stuff.
Right. I think that's what makes the place special, you know.
A bar this size is always it always is dominant. It's basically a byproduct of whoever's behind the bar.
Totally.
That's what it is. And for me, it's like I definitely know exactly what I like doing here now and how it should be run. And well, luckily, like I said, you know, have other family. You know, my wife's involved, my sister, my brother-in-law. You know, my daughter helps out sometimes. You know, it's mostly me, but it's nice. You know, it's all us, and everybody gets along. And you know, my sister's a great partner to me. You know, she sort of, you know, understands my vision and just goes, you know, along for the most part. And, you know, though we always bounce stuff off each other, we never argue about it, and we never really disagree on things. You know, we both got the same direction in mind. You know?
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love that just like it kind of continues the, you know, the path of the Great Notch Inn.
And we both grew up in town, too. We both went to Montclair State, which is right across the street.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's
the community aspect of it. It always goes back to the people that you just kind of surround yourself with.
Correct.
You know, and that's with anything, really. But especially at a place like this, you know, the history of it, the people that have, like, imagine, like, it's almost hard to even wrap your head around the number of people that have kind of come through these doors, you know, and like sat at this bar. Like, to me, like, that kind of stuff is so, you know, true. It makes my head spin a little bit.
Yeah, me too. Cool. I think back sometimes, you know, to who during my grandfather's era, because, you know, I know a lot of people say like Babe Ruth used to come in here, and people like, you know, he drank at every bar, but you know, I mean, but who knows who was here before my time, you know, I mean, but you know, they say, you know, I'm obviously privy to all the traffic studies with all this construction, but over 1 million cars a week go by this place.
Yeah.
Over 100,000 a day. And it's a lot, you know what I mean? And it still amazes me. I mean, with that number, obviously, but every day I still get people coming and they're like, man, you know, I've been driving by this place. I'm like, well, what's taking you 20
what the hell took you
so long? The door, you know? I mean, did you have to pee or something at one point? And just say, oh, let me hit the bathroom or something, check it out.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's funny. But, you know, I'm blessed, man. It's like it. And the neat thing is, and I also is that, you know, we obviously sell merch here too. And I always tell people, when I sell them a shirt, I'm like, you know, the shirt's $25, but the stories are going to be priceless when you wear it.
Yeah.
And literally, they all come back to like, holy crap, you weren't kidding. You know, like every time I wear this, somebody's going to expect that you know everything about the highway expansion.
Right. Yeah.
You know, the history. Totally. So I'm like, you better know the history because somebody's going to ask you, you know.
I actually wore the shirt that I bought the last time I was here to breakfast this morning at a place in Rockaway.
Okay.
And the waitress was like, oh my God, I love the Great Notch Inn. She's like, I haven't been there in a while. I need to get back over there. And I was like, yeah, you do.
Nice.
You know, but that's what it is.
Yes. It's you know, it's a curiosity thing because everybody's been past it. And so many people haven't been in, so they're just wondering, like, well, what's up with that place? Can I go in there by myself? But the cool thing, and one thing I think is great that I really want to emphasize, for me, it's very important that people feel safe and secure here, you know? And, you know, being that I work 70 hours a week, you know, obviously I don't really go out much, you know? I stay home usually on my day off, or I do a lot of kayaking and things like that, but... So most of the people I know are from here. So most of the women I know them from here, not really from outside of here. So, you know, I'll be talking to them, and these women will come in here by themselves all the time. And I'll just assume they do that everywhere. They're like, Rich, you don't know. They're like, I won't go anywhere by myself.
Yeah.
This is where I'll go by myself because I know you're here. And if you're not here, one of your family members is going to be here. And people are respectful here. If they bump into me, they apologize. They say they're sorry. If they step on my foot, man. When I go out to other places, man, the rude things people say to me is just disgusting.
Right.
So I find that really cool. You know, I try to be like, you know, whatever, big brother, sister, whatever there, you know, to everybody that walks in. And or my big brother, I should say, but I mean, it came out a little wrong.
Yeah, right.
No, but I try to make everybody feel at home and feel comfortable, and so they can come here and be themselves and talk to people without worrying about what's going to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? That to me is very, very important. You know? And it's nice to see that, we're, I believe right now, the top rated bar in the area, so that's good. And that drives in a lot of people from out of the area.
Sure.
Like when people come to the area, they're like, top rated bars, and we pop up right up top. So that's nice. It drives a lot of new business. And then people come out from wherever it might be, from Europe, the Midwest, somewhere. They'll be like, this is like the bars where I come from.
Yeah, right.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
And here it's all chains.
100%. Like the whole stretch. You got to drive a little bit to go find a place that's like this, even remotely.
Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing. Before we wrap, I want to make sure that we make a couple notes. Sure. Important things for people to know when they do come here.
Yes.
Cash only.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Is there anything else that they need to know?
Well, that's the main thing. I think,
you still don't do food.
We do small pizzas. We do a few kinds of pizzas. We let people bring food in if they feel like or order here. Just come prepared to have a good time. It does get a little tight in here, and it could get a little loud in here sometimes. Sure. The cool thing is that when the weather's warmer, we do basically literally take the front door off, and you could drink in it, all over the property, which is nice. Yeah. So that doesn't limit you inside. And, we just want people to come have a good time and, enjoy what we do. And, we let people have a good time, and just not to get too banged up,
Totally.
That's important.
Totally.
Right, Now with Uber, it helps a lot more. A lot of people Uber here, which helps us with our parking. And with drinking something.
Totally. All right. Well, we'll make sure that we put, like the address and any links or social handles and stuff in the show notes. Absolutely. So people just go click it. But I really appreciate you having us through and doing this with us. We talked about it. I think we talked about it like almost 2 years ago.
Actually, I believe it might have been. Were you doing this pre-COVID?
No.
Okay. It was probably right after
a post-COVID project. Yeah. It was like.
I call that AC.
Yeah.
Before COVID.
And. Yeah, AC.
AC. I think, BC8.
Yeah.
BC.
Yeah. No. And we'll also make sure that we put greetingsfromthegardenState.com in the show notes as well, so people can just go click and check out all of our other episodes that we have this year. And this episode will actually be, one of the first few that's featured on Radio Garden State, which is our new 24/7 internet radio service. So, Rich, thank you again. Appreciate you. This has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm Mike Ham. We're here at the Great Notch Inn in Woodland Park, New Jersey with Rich Hempel. Yes. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.